In this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to add animation to your countdown timer widget. So you'll see what we have so far, our rocks that subtract time yet don't take you below 0, and tables that will add time but cap you at 60 seconds. So what might be good to do is to give the user a little bit more feedback. So maybe a pulsing timer when you lose time, and maybe a fading timer when you gain time, or vice versa. So the first thing we need to do is go into our timer HUD blueprint here. And Unreal has actually a very simple way to do this, but it was hard for me to find at first. So with your text selected, you'll want to click Animation here. I'm going to name this Big Text. And with that selected, I want to click Track. And we want to animate the text here. So then add a track. And if we want to make it bigger, that's going to be a transform property. So within transform, we have all these different options, and we are going to click Scale. And if you are used to video editing, this might look a little more familiar. It's a keyframe timeline. So the changes that you make will insert keyframes and create the animation in that way. So this is our starting points, which I'm going to drag back to 0. So when it starts, I'm actually going to copy and paste these so that when it starts and finishes the animation, it's in the same place. So I only want there to be a little bit of animation about right here. Let me set that back. There we go. So now we have a little time frame from 0 to 1 second. So at about 0.5, let's try a scale of 2. And that pulls it on the x-axis, and a scale of 2 on the y should even it out for an all-around scale up like that. You can preview this by clicking play. So that looks pretty nice, but maybe it takes a little bit too long. So let's drag the ending keyframes back here, and likewise the middle keyframe. So let's see what this looks like. That's a lot faster, but I still think it could be even faster. So let's try this. Oops. Let's try that. And that's better. And then to cut out this time at the end, just drag this back here so that now it's only a ½ a second animation. So something really quick like that. So let's start with that. And that's called Big Text. So we can compile and save that. Next thing we want to do is go over into our event graph for this timer HUD. We need to create a custom event in order to call this animation. So it was called Big Text, so I'll just call it Big Text Event. And now you need to look for the Play Animation 2 node. Play Animation 2, and luckily Unreal will put your animation reference over here, so you can just drag that out and put that in here. So now we have an event that will play this animation. We can save that, and now we can jump over to, let's first go to the side scroller game mode blueprint. So in here we need to make a reference to that timer widget. So I'm going to go to variable. I'm going to call it time. Let's call it time W so I can find it quickly. And you do want it to be this blue square. And it's really important to make sure in the details panel that rather than, because there's a default object type called user widget. So if you have what you think is a reference to your widget, but over here you have user widget, it will not work. So you need to make sure that you have the name of your actual object. So that should work, but we will find out. So once we have that variable in the side scroller game mode, we need to do things in our rock blueprint and our level blueprint. So let's do the level work first. So here you'll see this is where we're actually displaying the timer on the screen. So in between create timer and add to viewport, we need to add a few things now. Since we want to have access to that timer widget variable, we need to cast to the side scroller game mode where that variable is located. We need to get the game mode. Not get game name, game mode. Okay. And here we need to set the timer widget. Set time W. Great. We actually need this return value to go into the timer widget here. And as the side scroller game mode, we need it to go to the target. And then from here, this goes into this target. So just a little bit of rewiring here so that what is happening here is putting it into this time widget variable. Good, that worked. Amazing. So now let's go to the rock blueprint. So now what we want to do is call another event, which is our custom event called big text event. And now we need to actually get that time widget variable that we made as the side scroller. So let's see if that works. Get time W, perfect. Now, if you've done this correctly, this should plug in here. Beautiful. So this should work. But let's, of course, test it to see. Wow, so it does work, but that is quite a crazy animation. So let's see if we can adjust that a little bit. But the programming does work, which is awesome. Maybe actually a better thing I could do to help would be to create another animation, just to provide another example. So let's create an animation called color change. Color change, okay. So then we will do a new track on the text, new track here. So let's look at color and opacity. I'm not sure why it's jumping me here, but we want to start at 0. So everything's normal at 0. Again, let's copy and paste these so that we end up how it was, if that's how you want it to be. You can obviously create a change and then have it keep that change at the end of the animation by not doing this. So then in the middle, let's see, so if I'm adding blue, it's kind of becoming a bit more purple. Oh, so it becomes white or a little lilac there. Many different options. So, and you can see this bar kind of previews it for you. That's kind of pretty. So I think that's fine for now. So that's a color change animation. Let's apply. Let's go over to the graph and make another event here. Another custom event called color event. Again, we want to play animation 2. And then look over here. It's got the animation reference, so that's awesome. Color change. So now we have this color event here. We already have that widget referenced in the game mode, which is great. And also in the level, we already have set that here. So all we need to do is now actually call this event. So maybe we call it on the table so that the color changes when we gain time. So like the rock, how we're calling this after subtract time. Let's call this after add time. Oh, interesting. If you'll see here, I destroyed the actor in a different place, but that doesn't matter. Maybe for the sake of clarity, I'll put it in the same place. But it looks like it doesn't matter, or we will find out if it matters. Decrease time. Okay. So here we're just going to want to play our color change. So let's verify here. Decrease time, subtract time, play that. Increase time, add time, and we want to play that. Color event. So then here is where we need to reference that widget again. Get time W. Should plug in here. So let's go see what that looks like. So we have our insane scaling up. And then we should have a color change.